Coming up, SUNY Plattsburgh is welcoming new leadership to the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Office. Over 150 people died in a crowd crush in South Korea over the weekend, and Brazil has elected a new president. Plus, a look at your Plattsburgh weather, entertainment, and sports tonight on PS News.
Good evening and thank you for joining us. I'm Pat Pfeiffer.
And I'm Jorge Cabrera. Our top story tonight, SUNY Plattsburgh Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Office has a new leader with a new vision. PSTV Joe Mason has more on how the community is welcoming the new vice president.
Outside Hawkins Hall this afternoon to see what's going on at the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Office and to see how the new vice president is fitting into her new role.
Allison Hurd lives and breathes diversity, equity, and inclusion. Born and raised on the south side of Chicago, Hurd grew up in a very segregated area with little economic development. Common stereotypes she believes lower self-esteem. As a first-generation college student, Hurd wasn't sure how much time to spend studying and what activities to participate in. Hurd hopes to help SUNY Plattsburgh students find their place.
I had caring professionals who actually helped me when I was a student, and I feel like I really want to be that professional for the students that we have here.
Since graduating from the University of Vermont, Hurd has continuously promoted discussions of diversity, most notably at the University of St. Francis in Illinois.
As a person who has gone to college and has experience learning about many of these topics, I've realized that education and awareness plays a significant impact in how people interact with one another, how they see themselves, and how they actually attach their career and what they want to do in life.
What does Hurd hope to accomplish at SUNY Plattsburgh? Collaboration among students and staff.
I think that this office has a really huge potential to be a bridge between students as well as other employees on campus and the greater Plattsburgh community.
When Allison Hurd was announced to be the next Vice President of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion, the big question on everybody's mind was, why is she replacing the current one? Interim Vice President Dr. Richard Miller's role from the beginning was to provide a smooth changeover for the incoming Vice President. Miller will remain in his position to help provide a smooth transition for Hurd.
Dr. Miller has championed for diversity efforts at numerous institutions for the better part of the last 4 decades and is looking forward to seeing the impact Hurd has on the community.
I think she's going to be a major asset to the university and to the surrounding community. So I'm really excited to see the great things she's going to be doing.
The campus officially welcomed Vice President Hurd in a ceremony this past homecoming weekend. Many attended the event and had high praise for what she had to say. We couldn't agree more. In Plattsburgh, Joe Mason, CMM 458 News.
A week of mourning is underway in South Korea following the deadliest disasters ever to hit the country. At least 155 people were killed in a crush of Halloween partygoers in Seoul on Saturday night. 26 foreign nationals are among the dead, including 2 American students, Ann Gisecki from the University of Kentucky and Stephen Blessey from Kennesaw State University in Georgia. Witnesses say the narrow streets of the capital's nightlife district were jammed with people just trying to enjoy the first Halloween weekend without COVID restrictions. Official memorial altars were set up in central Seoul on Monday, and many shops and businesses were closed to observe a national period of mourning. Among the mourners were the President and Prime Minister of South Korea, as well as the Mayor of Seoul. People also paid respects at a makeshift memorial in Itaewon outside a subway station near the alley where the crush occurred. Police have launched a task force to investigate the crowd crush, collecting video from surveillance cameras and social media, as well as interviewing witnesses and survivors. The president has also promised the government will conduct emergency inspections for local festivals and events to prevent a similar tragedy in the future.
Luiz Lula da Silva has been elected the next president of Brazil in a stunning comeback following a tight runoff race on Sunday. His victory is a political about-face for Latin America's largest country after 4 years of Jair Bolsonaro's far-right administration. The election result represents the return of the left into power in Brazil and concludes a triumphant personal comeback for da Silva. A series of corruption allegations led to his imprisonment for 580 days. The sentences were later annulled by the Supreme Court for clearing his path to run for election. Da Silva received more than 60 million votes, the most in Brazilian history, breaking his own record from 2006. But despite the huge turnout from his supporters, his victory was won by a narrow margin. Da Silva won 50.9% of votes, and Bolsonaro received 49.1%, according to Brazil's electoral authority. Da Silva spoke to journalists and supporters on Sunday evening.
Meus amigos e minhas amigas.
My friends, from January 1st, 2023, I will govern for 215 million Brazilians, and not just for those that voted for me. There are not two Brazils. We're one country, one people, one great nation.
This will be Da Silva's third term as president after previously governing Brazil for 2 consecutive terms between 2003 and 2010.
Midterms are never easy, but here at SUNY Plattsburgh, the middle of the fall semester is bringing a new challenge beyond exams and projects. PS News' Jeff Koff has more.
It was pretty well done, you know.
SUNY Plattsburgh is known for extreme winter weather, but instead of Mother Nature's cold, students are now fearful of their own cold. This semester has seen the rise of a particularly harsh strain of head cold.
Yeah, it really knocks you out. It does not feel good. You feel exhausted all the time, no matter what you do, and your head is kind of stuffy 24/7.
Nicknamed the Plattsburgh Plague, students aren't the only ones struggling to deal with this cold. Professors have been forced to work around low attendance numbers.
Today, I had a really low attendance in one of my classes. It's I think 2/3 of what would normally be in there. So, yeah, it has been more than in the past.
Certainly, there's been some students out each class, and I had to move to Zoom myself last week.
The culprit behind the cold? School health officials say poor habits are to blame. They are urging everyone to wash their hands frequently and get a good night's sleep to combat this cold.
Students who experience worsening symptoms or prolonging symptoms should get in contact with the Student Health Center for treatment. In Plattsburgh, Jeff Koff, PS News.
Russia has suspended its participation from the UN-brokered grain export deals with Ukraine, the Russian Defense Ministry announced Saturday. The move comes after drone attacks on the Crimean city of Sevastopol. Moscow blames the Kiev for the attacks. The grain export deal was agreed in July to allow resumption of vital grain export from Ukrainian ports in the Black Sea, a diplomatic breakthrough that aimed at easing a global food crisis sparked by the war. Russia has long threatened to pull out of the agreement, with President Putin criticizing that the grain was taken to EU countries instead of the poorest countries in need. After Russia's announcements, the Ukrainian foreign minister called on Moscow to, quote, stop Hunger Games and recommit to its obligations. Coming up after the break, New York City has settled a wrongful conviction lawsuit in the assassination of civil rights leader Malcolm X, and millions of Americans have already voted in the upcoming midterm elections. Stay with us.
Have you ever had a main character moment? I mean, when you first step in front of the camera. I mean, when you ace that exam. When you publish your first novel.
When you take that shot.
When the moment is yours.
New York City has agreed to pay $26 million to settle lawsuits filed by 2 men wrongfully convicted of assassinating Malcolm X. Muhammad A. Aziz and Khalil Islam had been convicted of the 1965 assassination of Malcolm X, but Aziz and Islam were exonerated last year after a judge found serious miscarriages of justice in their cases. Both men served more than 20 years in prison, but Islam died in 2009 and received a posthumous exoneration. The push to establish their innocence came after the 2020 Netflix documentary called Who Killed Malcolm X? The New York City Law Department is working on the final details of the settlement, but a spokesperson says the money will be split evenly between Aziz and Islam's estate.
The 2022 midterm elections are a week from tomorrow, and more than 21 million Americans have already voted. According to elections officials, Edison Research and Catalyst, 21.4 million people have cast early ballots so far in 46 states. Texas is leading the pack with nearly 3 million people having already submitted their votes. And in Florida, 2.8 million people have cast their pre-election ballots as well. New state polling from New York Times and Siena College finds some of the races could be very tight. According to the polling, Democratic incumbents in Nevada and Georgia are in close contests with their GOP challengers. In Arizona, Democratic Senator Mark Kelly has a narrow edge over Blake Masters. And in Pennsylvania, Democratic Lieutenant Governor John Fetterman holds a slim lead over Republican Dr. Mehmet Oz in his bid to flip that GOP-held seat. For information on how to vote here in New York, visit elections.ny.gov.
U.S. officials, along with 3 dozen allies, will hold talks this week on the issue of ransomware attacks and their costs to infrastructures and businesses worldwide. The unofficial summit will focus on virtual currencies used by cyber criminals and how companies and governments can help protect themselves against hackers. The talks come in amid an uptake in ransomware attacks, including those targeting a major in U.S. hospital networks and one of the nation's largest school districts. Ransomware attacks are designed to prevent users from accessing important files and information on computer networks until a ransom payment is made. Canada, Singapore, and Ukraine are among the many governments expected to participate in the talks. Russia, where the analysts believe many ransomware groups and refuge will not be attending. Coming up after the break, we'll take a look at your Plattsburgh weather and entertainment news. Stay with us.
Dance Corps makes me feel confident.
Dance Corps means to me family.
Dance Corps is motivating.
Dance Corps means new friends.
Dance Corps means old friends.
Dance Corps means unity.
Dance Corps means creativity.
Dance Corps means love.
Dance Corps is fun.
Dance Corps means friendship.
Dance Corps is exciting.
Dance Corps is my support system.
Dance Corps is my favorite thing.
What am I looking at here? It's a spaceship. From where? From space? All right, people, let's hit these guys with some PSTV. Did not work.
Probably because it's a TV station and not a laser.
Welcome back. I'm Marcel Gibbs, and the board is not behind me. Now we're back, and here's a look at your Plattsburgh weather. With these temperatures, it seems that I do not need these sunglasses no longer. We are seeing 50s across the board and mainly with 58. We're seeing 58 for Owl's Head, 58 for Vermontville, 55 for Dannemora. Oh no, it's even worse. 58 for All Sable Forks, 58 for Plattsburgh, 58 for St. Albans City, and 61 for Wilson. Now, we're going to your 5-day forecast.
We don't have the forecast. Throw it at the desk.
It looks like that's all for me. Weather has been cut short. Now we're going back to the desk with Jorge and Pat.
Thanks, Marcel.
Underwater pumpkin carving contest was held in Florida recently this past week.
Maybe you're entered a pumpkin carving contest, but probably not like this one. In Florida, Keys, they do them a little differently, under the waves. The annual underwater pumpkin carving contest, Saturday, featured 18 scuba divers in competition. Competitors carved their jack-o'-lanterns near the Horseshoe Reef about 5 miles off Key Largo. 25 feet below the surface, the divers created everything from sharks to jellyfish to pirate pumpkins. Curious saltwater fish swam close to nibble on the bits of orange gorge that floated off. The winners got a free dive trip for 2 at Armory Dive Resorts on the contest sponsor.
On to the Powerball. One lucky lottery player could be in for a very big Halloween treat tonight. With no winner in Saturday night's drawing, the Powerball jackpot stands at a staggering $1 billion. It's only the second time in Powerball's 30-year history that the jackpot has hit $1 billion. Saturday's winning numbers were 19, 31, 40, 46, and 57, with a Powerball of 23. 7 tickets match 5 numbers, but not all the Powerball, according to the Multi-State Lottery Association. The next drawing is tonight at 11 p.m. and is expected to be the second largest jackpot in Powerball history. The biggest of all time was $1.5 billion in January 2016. Now let's take a look at what's happening in the world of entertainment. With your PS Entertainment Update, here's Queasy Gittins.
Thank you. So-called Netflix hubs are coming to thousands of Walmart stores. That means you'll be able to buy things like music apparel, collectibles, games, and seasonal items from big Netflix franchises like Stranger Things, Squid Game, and even the upcoming Knives Out sequel at over 2,400 in-store Netflix zones. You'll also find concession kits of goodies like popcorn and candy to make watching Netflix at home feel like you're at the movies. The bigger expansion into retail is just the latest way Netflix is trying to grow its business after losing subscribers for the first time in over a decade earlier this year. The company quickly ramped up efforts on its cheaper ad-supported tier, which is launching in November, and its password-sharing crackdown will roll out in early 2023. Prince Harry's highly anticipated memoir will be published in January, titled Spare in a nod to his nickname. Publisher Penguin Random House says the book will take readers back to two princess walk-ins behind their mother's coffin as the worlds watch in sorrow and horror. Adding for Harry, this is his story at last. The Duke of Sussex plans to support several charities with the proceeds from the book sales. It will be issued in 16 languages worldwide. Twitter is considering charging users for that coveted blue badge. The blue check mark lets people know that an account of public interest is authentic or verified. It's particularly helpful for celebrities and influential accounts. According to internal Twitter documents, the update will have verified users paying $19.99 for a month for their subscription service. If existing users don't start paying for the product within 90 days, they could lose their verified status. It's unclear if some verified users may be exempt from paying the fee. Many international organizations and charities, for example, are verified on Twitter. Of course, Twitter's new billionaire owner, Elon Musk, is still working to shake things up and put his stamp on the social media platform. That's all from entertainment. When we come back, we'll have Ryan Nister with your PS Sports Update.
The sport of jiu-jitsu is mainly for, you can use it for self-defense. That's the number one reason it appeals to people. There's other people who come to this club for the competition aspect, and also a lot of others who do it for the workout aspect. It has multiple ways of appealing to different audiences, and you should come give it a try. You might like it.
Welcome back. With your PS Sports Update, I'm Ryan Nista. Starting with Cardinal Athletics, the Plattsburgh State women's soccer season came to a close on Saturday afternoon at home, as the women fell to the 5th-seeded Oswego State Lakers, losing 1-0 in overtime. Playing in the new NCAA overtime rules with the golden goal eliminated and 2 10-minute periods guaranteed, the women were forced to grind out 110 minutes of hard-nosed play, but unfortunately came up short. Offense was a struggle for both teams throughout this one, as shots were few and far between. Plattsburgh only found themselves attempting 5 shots in the first half, with Oswego putting just 1 shot up in the same period. Sophomore keeper Lauren Haley was excellent for the Cardinals in goal, as she stopped 5 shots over 110 minutes played. She picked up just her 3rd loss of the season, as the record moved to 8-3-1. Overall, Haley finished with a goals against average of .90, made 47 saves, and recorded 17 shutouts. Heading into halftime, the Plattsburgh held a 14-8 shot advantage, but no visible advantage on the field. Oswego earned a corner early in the 94th minute and finally got a shot to go, as Amber McDermott found Garissa Madden in the box for the goal. Plattsburgh would work to try and even up the score over the last 15-plus minutes, but couldn't get anything to go, falling to Oswego 1-0 for the first time since 2015. The Cardinal women would finish their season 11-6-2. Oswego State moves to 9-5-4 with the win and will move on to face top-seeded Cortland, who is also currently ranked number 21 in the country. Plattsburgh would not get swept this weekend, though, as the men's soccer team went into New Paltz and stunned the 3-seeded Hawks. The Cards scored 3 first-half goals. The first goal came in the 7th minute and would be scored by Dylan Shalvey. The second scored in the 29th minute by Cole Wiener, and the third, following the 38th minute, scored by Brian Callahan. At halftime, Plattsburgh held the advantage in shots at 10-7, doubling their shots total against the Hawks over 90 minutes in the previous meeting. With a large advantage, Plattsburgh opted for a more defensive approach in the second half, taking only 6 more shots moving forward, as the Hawks ended with 16 second-half shots and the shot advantage overall at 22-16. New Paltz didn't waste much time in the second half working to dwindle the deficit, as Joseph DePreta scored for the Hawks in the 54th minute. Plattsburgh settled in defensively over the next 30-plus minutes, not allowing New Paltz to make it a one-score game. The Hawks added their second goal of the game late in the second half as they were awarded a penalty and made the score 3-2. The Cardinals rise to 8-7-3 overall with the win and will move on to the SUNYAC semifinal game to play the second-seeded Oneonta Red Dragons, who defeated the Cardinals back in mid-October. All-time, Oneonta has the series advantage, going 36-10-3 against Plattsburgh. The Cardinals' last win over the Red Dragons came in October of 2015 as they won 1-0. It's that time of year again for the cross-country conference championships. Both the Plattsburgh State women's and men's cross-country teams finished 6th at the SUNYAC Championships, which were hosted by Oswego State on Saturday at the Fallbrook Recreation Center. For the women's team, graduate student Aizen McDonough was the top Cardinal finisher once again, making this her 6th race this year in which she led Plattsburgh State. McDonough navigated the 6-kilometer course in 24 minutes and 52 seconds at a 6:41-mile pace to finish 23rd overall. For the men's team, junior Michael Brockway was the top Cardinal finisher by nearly a minute as he traversed the 8-kilometer course in 27 minutes and 15 seconds at a 5:29-mile pace to finish 29th overall. Plattsburgh State next competes at the NCAA Division III Mid-East Region Championships on Saturday, November 12th at 11 a.m. at St. Lawrence University. Now to the ice. Plattsburgh State women's ice hockey team completed the exhibition portion of its schedule with a 6-0 victory over St. Michael's College on Saturday afternoon at home. Entering the match, Plattsburgh State was ranked at number 3 in the women's Division III top 15 poll. Junior forward Kira Wall scored twice, while graduate student forward Nicole Unsworth recorded 3 points on a goal and 2 assists. The Cardinals finished the game with a 54-18 edge in shots on goal and went 1 for 6 on the power play. The Purple Knights were scoreless in 2 chances with the extra skater. Senior forward Julia Mascota scored just 14 seconds into the contest to set the tone early. At the 1-minute mark of the first period, just 45 seconds later, Wall added to the Cardinal lead. Unsworth made it 3-0 game at the 14:59 mark of the first period. Just 38 seconds later, first-year forward Emma McLean extended the Cardinal advantage to 4-0. Plattsburgh State rounded out scoring at the 13:50 mark of the second period when Wall scored on the power play. Neither team scored in the third period, though the Cardinals did own a 20-9 edge in shots on goal in the final frame. Senior goaltender Chloe Bubin made 12 saves, and graduate student goaltender Ashley Davis added 6 in a combined shutout for the Cardinals, while first-year goaltender Anika Lavender made 36 saves against 2 goals allowed in 44 minutes and 23 seconds of action. Plattsburgh State will open up its regular season on Friday, November 4th at 4 p.m. when it visits SUNY Morrisville. Now let's transition to college football. 4 Michigan State University football players have been suspended after a scuffle at a football game Saturday. The altercation happened in a stadium tunnel after the University of Michigan Wolverines defeated Michigan State Spartans 29-7. Michigan State's coach said the players had been suspended from the team after he reviewed disturbing electronic evidence of the incident. Video posted on Twitter from the Detroit News showed several Spartan players in an altercation with Wolverine players at the Michigan State Stadium in Ann Arbor. Michigan's coach Jim Harbaugh had this to say at the post-game press conference.
There needs to be accountability. There needs to be a full, thorough, timely investigation. I can't imagine that these will not, that they won't. I can't imagine that this will not result in criminal charges. The videos are bad, and it's clear what transpired. It seems very, very open and shut. You know, as they say, watch the tape. I'm coming from this from a perspective of being a parent, and these young men are entrusted to me by their families and to our program, and we have the responsibility to each player to treat them like our own, and I take that responsibility very seriously. An apology will not get the job done in this instance. There should be serious consequences for the many individuals that are culpable. And on behalf of the 2022 Michigan football team, our players, our coaches, our staff, our university. This has been a very traumatic experience for everybody, especially for Jaden and Jamon, and we will support them. We'll support them and their families in every possible way.
School police from both universities are investigating. The suspensions will remain in effect until the investigation is complete. With your PS Sports Update, I'm Ryan Nista. Now back to the desk with Jorge and Pat.
Thanks, Ryan. After tonight's newscast, don't miss the second episode of our murder mystery game show, Double Down. Contestants will play a variety of roles and vote out who might be suspicious in this spooky Halloween episode. It'll be including witches, clowns, or trick-or-treaters alike. Unfortunately, that's all the time we have for tonight. Thank you for joining us.
To stay up to date with PS News and all of our Plattsburgh State TV, be sure to follow @Plattsburgh State TV on all social media platforms. I'm Pat Pfeiffer.
And I'm Jorge Cabrera. As always, thank you for joining us and have a happy Halloween, Plattsburgh.